Hello all, and welcome in. We're so glad you've joined us for another edition of the Book Nerd Diaries. Life can be rough sometimes, so please pull up a chair here in the library and relax for a while as we dive deep into the latest books we've crossed off our endless to-read list. Please be warned that spoilers lie ahead, and some content might not be suitable for all listeners. So please go check out the show notes for content warnings regarding today's book and discussion before moving ahead with the episode. Ready? Then let's get our book nerd on. The concept of destiny is a very interesting thing. One of the biggest intellectual quandaries in human history, and one that shows up again and again in every form of media, is whether the paths of our lives are preordained by some grand outside force, or if we create them for ourselves through our own actions. Are we the heroes of our own stories, or are we merely chess pieces in a game we'll never really understand? I happen to believe that the answer to this question lies somewhere in the middle. Through a combination of our inborn genetic traits and unique life experiences, we may naturally be more inclined to certain types of careers than others later in life, in a way that feels a lot like destiny. Some people fit into our lives so perfectly that it's like we were supposed to meet them all along. Destiny is undoubtedly an intoxicating concept, and sometimes it's hard not to believe in it. The thing is, however, that nothing is ever completely set in stone. Life constantly throws us into situations that are completely out of our hands, but it's ultimately how we respond to these situations that matters. The road ahead may be paved, but you're still the driver, and it's you who decides which way to go next. The lovely book that we'll be talking about today, The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie Oh, is all about someone who rejects the idea of destiny altogether to write her own. She may be human, but no one, not even the gods themselves, gets to decide her fate for her. By daring to take her life into her own hands, she becomes the master of her own destiny and proves that there is always a choice. As our book opens, we meet a girl named Mina, who has found herself in a desperate situation. Every year, a young woman is chosen to be sacrificed as a bride of the sea god to protect against the deadly storms he sends to plague the land. This sacrifice is seen as a necessary and noble means to appease the vengeful god, but for Mina, it means tragedy. The latest bride to be chosen is Shim Cheong, the girl that her beloved older brother, Jun, is deeply in love with. Mina knows that losing Cheong would break him forever, so she follows the boat and interrupts the ceremony. Wishing to spare Jun the pain of losing his true love, Mina decides to offer herself as the sea god's bride instead. Without a second thought, she jumps into the hole that has appeared in the sea and is drawn down into the depths. Strangely enough, she does not even need to breathe air, as she drifts down like a feather, down into the sea god's kingdom. When she gets there, she finds herself in the middle of a strange village, the buildings obscured by a thick haze of fog. The only color she can see through the fog is a vibrant red string of fate that leads away from her. These red strings signify the bond between two people who are destined to be together, though they are only visible to the naked eye in the sea god's kingdom. Mina knows that this string is her connection to the sea god, and so she follows it, all the way to his palace. At the palace, she is surprised to find a boy who looks around her own age, sitting on the throne. The god appears to be in a deep sleep, and so Mina instinctively reaches out to touch him. Mina is suddenly interrupted in her curiosity when a voice calls out to her, "That's enough." From behind the throne emerge what appear to be 3 assassins. From these 3 figures, who later are introduced as Namji, Kirin, and Lord Shin, Mina finds out that the sea god is under a sleeping curse. The only way to break the curse and wake him is if he is kissed by his true bride. Before Mina can stop him, Lord Shin takes a sword and severs the red string. From the point where the string is cut emerges a magpie, which is promptly put into a cage. The magpie, it is explained, is Mina's soul, which is going to be held as collateral. Mina's soul, it turns out, is connected to her voice, and so she finds herself unable to speak when she tries to reason with the assassin. They explain that she will be able to retrieve her soul again in 30 days. The only hitch is that after the 30 days are up, she will have become a spirit herself and will not be able to leave. Mina is then escorted out of the palace as the fog lifts, and she sees the sea god's kingdom properly for the first time. As she looks at the vast landscape sprawling ahead of her, Mina can't help but break down and cry. She had sacrificed herself to protect her brother, and now she can't help but feel hopeless as she faces the overwhelming odds stacked against her. The only way for Mina to save herself and her people is to get her soul back and repair her bond with the sea god to break the curse, all within the next 30 days. Completing such a monumental task will require finding where her soul is being kept in the first place, and stealing it right out from under the noses of the assassins without being caught. What's more, how does someone who had not even been intended to be a sea god's bride in the first place break a centuries-old curse and save her people? Here we must walk away for just a second, dear book nerds, but don't you fret. We'll return in just a moment after this very quick break. Don't go anywhere.
Are you an author, fellow podcaster, or small business owner looking to spread the word about your product or service? Then let us help you. We offer a number of affordable monthly advertising packages in various price ranges. So if you'd like to hear your ad here in future episodes, please head on over to our page at ko-fi.com/bndpod and click on the shop tab to see what works best for you. Again, that's ko-fi.com/bndpod. Then click on the shop tab. We can't wait to work with you.
When searching for new books to share with you on this show, I find myself drawn to stories with a sense of lore to them. Whether based on real-world mythology or one that's entirely original, I love when a book has the feeling of being lived in. Good narratives all have a clear beginning, middle, and end, but the ones that capture my attention the most are the ones that feel like they are just a part of a bigger grand tapestry that we only get to see a small part of on the pages. I dearly loved reading The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie Oh because it excels at this. Before Mina sacrifices herself as the latest bride of the sea god, there were many others before her who'd had lives and dreams of their own. We never get to hear much of their stories, but by following Mina's experiences, you come to feel the weight of the tragic burden they've all had to bear, whether they chose it or not. There's also the entire pantheon of gods that dwell in the sea god's kingdom, each of whom has their own intricate relationships with each other, and with the world of humanity which they're supposed to protect. A lot of the gods have become so removed from the humans who worship them and love them that they see them as mere ants, and not worth their time at all. Ironically enough, the one god who truly seems to care for humanity is Shiki, the god of death, who mourns for every single soul who passes into the kingdom. It's Mina, our brilliant, kind-hearted, and brave protagonist, who puts a mirror up to these gods and forces them to face the error of their ways. She's seen firsthand how much faith humanity places in them, and how hard they try to be worthy of their love. So she can't even fathom how heartless they must be to ignore their pleas. The gods may have magic on their side, but humans have a power all their own that they will never understand. The fact that she can put literal gods to task in this way, and never once hesitates to take her fate into her own hands, makes Mina arguably one of my new favorite literary leading ladies. She is deeply loving and gentle with those who need her help, yet she also knows her worth and refuses to let anyone push her around, no matter how powerful they are. This balance of confidence and vulnerability is something I find myself aspiring to in my own life, and I just wish I could take lessons from her. In the end, I would recommend this book to those who love a good sweeping epic. We go along with Mina from the world of the living to the world of the dead, and everywhere in between, and meets all sorts of gods as if they're just your neighbor walking to the store, which gives this book the feeling of an epic on the level of the Odyssey. There are also some wonderful romantic elements along the way, if that's what you're looking for, though they never overshadow the important narrative of Mina's growth. For loyal followers of our podcast, this would be a great read for those who have read and enjoyed our previous podcast subject, 6 Crimson Cranes, by Elizabeth Lim, which we covered back in episode 42. Another lore-filled epic that might be a good follow-up to this, though with a more modern twist, would be Labyrinth Lost by Zorita Cordova, which we covered back in episode 21. We'd like to reiterate here that some content in today's book might not be suitable for everyone, so we highly recommend checking out the content warnings in our show notes before giving it a read for yourself. It is here, dear fellow book nerds, that we reach the end of our discussion for today. We're always so happy when you join us here in the library, and that we get to share the books we love with you. Before we bid you farewell for now, however, we have some very special thank yous to give out. Firstly, thank you so much to Julie, our amazing sister Katie, and our newest team member Anthony for being our Rockstar subscribers over at patreon.com/bndpod. This podcast helps us pay our monthly bills, so we truly can't keep the lights on here at the library without your kind support. If you too would like to get perks like early ad-free episodes, 2 exclusive episodes a month, notes, scripts, our monthly newsletter, and a special role in our Discord server, we hope you'll join them. Our deepest gratitude also goes out to anyone who has taken the time to share our episodes on social media, left us a review on Apple Podcasts or their app of choice, or told the people in their lives about us. These are the best free ways to help bring more people to the library, and independent operations like ours depend on word of mouth to grow, so every bit truly helps more than you know. Next week, Friday, June 3rd, a new bonus episode is on the way for our wonderful $5 and up subscribers on Patreon, and we'll see you right back here in 2 weeks for another edition of the Book Nerd Diaries. We'll see you then. The Book Nerd Diaries is written, edited, researched, and hosted by me, Amber Wilchin. Thank you so much to the wonderful astrofreq from Pixabay for the use of our theme song, The Grand Entrance. All other music and sound effects you hear during this episode are also provided by the amazing folks of Pixabay, so please check out the show notes for full credits. If you'd like to connect with us online, please follow us on Instagram or Twitter at BNDpod, on Facebook at Book Nerd Diaries, or via our website at bndpod.wordpress.com. Again, all links are in our show notes. If you have any comments, questions, or ideas for future episodes to send my way, please feel free to drop us an email anytime at bndpod@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time all, please be good to yourselves, because the world needs you. And don't forget to support your local library.